All right, everyone. Letitia James is in some deep doo-doo. You will note her as one of the prosecutors that went gung-ho after Donald Trump. She's in, I think a little bit of trouble because the allegation is that she committed mortgage fraud. She's been referred for charges by the DOJ, actually. This is something that I expected would probably happen. Again, show me the man, or in this case, arguably woman, and I will show you the crime. In other words, if you get investigated, as long as you have broad sweeping investigative powers, you're probably going to find something that they've done. It may be something very simple. In this case, we're talking about a significant felony. The allegation is that she listed her father as her husband on mortgage paperwork. That's fraud and identity theft. Hmm. That's pretty felonious right there. And this is the person who was grandstanding along with some of these other idiots like Angeron. You remember him? He fell out of the news cycle pretty quickly. Nobody even remembers he fucking existed. Again, sounds like a Star Wars character that leads some sort of Imperial regiment or something like that. Count Angeron. Sounds like a Sith Lord or something. Also looks kind of like one, honestly. It's a little bit like that forgettable, deformed one from episode 7, honestly. Anyway, Letitia's one of them. And she's like, Donald Trump is totally guilty. He's doing fraud. He's doing crazy shit. And now it turns out, nope, you were the one that was engaged in criminal activity. All the cases against Trump are gone. Now a case has begun against one of the people that was trying to gun for him. Isn't that intriguing? It's totally coincidental, by the way. I have a feeling that what ended up happening was that Donald Trump told the DOJ, look, these people tried to destroy my entire life. They tried to put me in prison for crimes that I did not even commit. So I want you to look into them. And this is, by the way, perfectly legal. He can request that from the DOJ. Now they can say no and say, well, Mr. President, we find it inappropriate. But when you have something this glaring, assuming that this allegation is remotely true, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. She's probably going to go to prison. Well, she'll be right where she wanted Donald Trump to be, so maybe he can visit her and bring her a hacksaw and a birthday cake or something like that. He'd probably do that. The best thing, by the way, politically, for Trump to do is she gets investigated and they refer charges, which means that they do have evidence. They wouldn't be referring charges unless there was at least something. And they may or may not pan out. If she does get found guilty, Trump should pardon her. It would be absolutely hilarious. Hey, Letitia, remember the time you tried to wreck my life? Well, I'm just going to pardon you anyway, just out of largesse. That would be hysterical. It would also be a huge political win. It would be so ironic. It would be so hilarious. Trump's poor troll fan base would find it uproarious. The liberals would be like, well, he did pardon her at the end of the day, even though she was found guilty of of mortgage fraud and identity theft, probably. And I have a feeling she probably will be found guilty. Again, at that higher level, it's not the same as like a local or state matter where the threshold is a little bit different. When you're getting investigated for that kind of crime, it's a little bit different than if you're getting investigated for simple assault or something like that. I have a feeling the charges will stick. It'd be funny to see the sentencing. Yeah, I mean, that'll be hilarious, assuming she's found guilty, of course. Innocent until proven guilty, even in the case of Letitia James. However, again, the DOJ itself referring the charges is kind of damning when you think about it. It's also not surprising because Donald Trump wants to go after his political adversaries. But again, he has the ability to one up the opposition. Putting her in jail, okay, well, you've gotten your retribution on somebody who was crooked to begin with and knew that they were being crooked and who committed crimes. That's great. That's wonderful. It would be so much better to offer her a pardon and force her to sign the paper and accept the largesse of the president that she tried herself to put in jail. It would be so abysmally hilarious. I mean, it would be amazing. And I'm sure if Donald Trump does choose that route, you can be damn sure that it's all going to be televised. She'll be in a jumpsuit, sitting in a cell, and Donald Trump, Orange Man himself, will show up with a news crew, and he'll say, Miss James, you've been in jail for a couple of nights. Hope that you enjoyed your stay. You know, taxpayer expense, of course, which is funny. I've got a pardon for you here. All you have to do is sign it because you can reject a pardon, just to be clear. When you accept a pardon, you're effectively saying it's different from a commutation. A commuted sentence means, okay, I think the person's guilty, but they served their time, let them go. With a pardon, you are accepting the fact that you were guilty effectively. Now, I know that it doesn't mean that you're guilty. I understand that. But effectively, for legal reasons, you're accepting the fact that you actually did have guilt. And so you need to accept that pardon in order to escape the punishment of the state. And this can be perceived of perhaps as a little bit tyrannical. I know that I personally do as a classical liberal. I think that if a person accepts a pardon, it doesn't necessitate that they were actually guilty at all. In Letitia James' case, though, Grump has the ability, assuming she is sentenced and goes to jail, he has the most ultimate ability to shame and humiliate her by forcing her to admit to her guilt in exchange for not being in jail. That would be hilarious because she deserves it, because the case against him, none of these cases ever had any merit anyway. Trump found guilty on felony charges. Okay, well, it looks like one of the people that tried to find him guilty on charges like that is actually going to be the one that might be in the prison block. That's what I would do if I were Trump, though. I would troll her effectively. She's forced to either stubbornly remain in prison for an extended period of time or accept her guilt. Oh, the ultimate shame and humiliation that would be. Absolutely hysterical. That's about all. Peace out.